In terms of if we have the population growth that they're projecting, we probably would need that many miles of road. We're not going to get that kind of population growth. But I can say, in looking at the data that they brought to us that we were able to put together, that I know that if we don't plan correctly, now you are talking about government costs. That for every 100 households we got from 1990 to 2010, we got an additional mile of local government responsible roads. For every 100 households, we had another mile of roads that we were responsible for that nobody else was going to fund if we had to replace it. And so communities like Brunswick, which got hit in the 70s and so forth, is facing that very issue now because they didn't set aside the money, and now they got to replace the roads. They got to go back. They've already gone back to the taxpayers 3 times to try to increase taxes to pay for those roads. And if you didn't plan, and I was on council, and I remember when 5 years I was on, we did set money aside. I don't know what happened to it, but okay. We tried to set some aside, but we knew, yeah, this is a big debt. So out of better government, we got to be paying attention to what our future costs are. As I said, we need to be more conservative, and it's enlightened self-interest to say, wow, we have that kind of residential development. We better make sure we set aside $1 million, because it costs right now about $1 million to repair curb and gutter road, to replace it, totally replace it as needed. So in 30 years, we better have that for those 100 households, that money ready for it. And that's something the local government has to consider. And at the state level, we have to say, guys, here's what's going on. You better be prepared.
Just a real quick question, finally.
Sure.
If I understand it correctly, Medina County, Wayne County, maybe Geauga, are not members of any OSCC.
That's correct.
Well, why not? And
well, they wanted money, and we weren't going to pay. And the only reason I'm on it is because I represent the NOACA board. I was President NOACA, as I said. They asked me, and this whole initiative started before I was even president of NOACA. My term was in 2011, you know, and I've served 3 times, and it came up, and it had been passed by the board beforehand, and this whole group had worked on this, and they came to me and said, well, we need to set up this organization. And I said, well, okay, I'll help, because I do believe in elected leaders getting together and thinking, what can we do to improve better cooperation, coordination, reduce the cost of governments, plan, all those kind of things. And I have to say, gang up and go after Columbus. If we need money from Columbus as a group, let's go together and deal with those issues, or the feds. If we want them to solve the problem with no money in the federal trust fund for highways, we doggone better come up with a solution and work with our local delegation. And as a group, we can do that, rather than just saying, no, we're going to increase the tax and we're going to do this. No, we as a group would have much more force, and I'm all in favor of that. But then, as I pointed out, my leadership was one in saying, okay, first off, it has to be transparent, it has to be like the public sector. I mean, it has to have public records, it has to be transparent, it has to be democratic, we have to increase the size, we have to make sure that everything, that these are fact-based. And every time I got a chance to vote, and I had the opportunity, influenced it that way. But I only represented, if you will, the NOACA, on behalf of the NOACA board, because of the way the seats were arranged. We didn't, they came to the county, we didn't have the money, we weren't going to involve it. So at this point, we're there by virtue of just our involvement in NOACA. And the NOACA leadership could say, well, Commissioner Hambley, we don't need you, we're going to put somebody else in. Okay, then that's what they do. But at the time I was president and said, no, I want to make sure that this organization at least starts right, and we don't end up spending a lot of money needlessly for things like furniture and office space, and as any, I'll just say, the tendency of some of the governments up in Cuyahoga and elsewhere tended to like to do. So we ended up borrowing, we got the equipment, I think we got all the office equipment from Youngstown for $1. We got space donated by the city of Akron, so we didn't have to pay rent. So we just went down the list of everything that we could, okay, what about this, what about that? And so, like I said, under my leadership, tried to make sure it was conservative, responsible. I'm treasurer this year to make sure that everything's audited and visible. We've already had a clean audit. We're going to have another clean audit, and so forth. So at least I try to stay involved in it that way. So you're welcome. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Jim. Just that, like I said, it's been the greatest honor to serve Medina County. I would consider it, likewise, a similar honor, one I would treasure, to have the opportunity, certainly to follow Bill Batchelder and serve you in District 69, as well as serve the interests of the county and the constituents of Medina County. in the state legislature. I ask for your vote, for your support. My beautiful wife, Cheryl, has a petition. If anyone would be willing to sign it, I appreciate it. Or Hallie Wolf, who is acting as my treasurer for the campaign. I want to express thanks to her. And likewise, I kind of going off of John Metter. Merry Christmas to everybody.
Thanks, Steve. Let's see, I got a few announcements, but I think everybody knows Greg Badger here, right?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Greg is the fellow that ran into a highway sign down in Cuyahoga County.
Oh, yeah. But
A couple
also,
months
there's
ago.
a big elephant.
above.
It was a sign from above.
But also the big elephant on the square for, back in September when we had our party, Greg is the one who brought the big elephant for us, which was probably one of the best attractions there. Huh?
You're right, and I also provided the sound system for the Lincoln Day dinner last year, and that was a fabulous sound system.
Yes.
Much better than the one they had there, so appreciate that support, Greg. Also in the audience, we have Jesse Smith, the Regional Director for Americans for Prosperity. You want to stand up and wave so people know you by sight?
Hey, guys.
Okay, I'm a little surprised that one question didn't come up, and that's about constituent services. Everybody's good at some things, and everybody's got a weakness. And I think if there's anything that Bill Batchelder might have been a little bit weak about, was that responding to phone calls and letters was probably down his list of priorities. So, being a candidate, I thought I should duly note that there are those in this audience that will criticize that if it's a problem. Anyway, let's see, I think we're about done. Announcements, I'll run through them quickly. Tuesday evening, if you see any teenagers, there's a Teenage Republican meeting at Williams on the Lake at 7:30. This is coming Tuesday. We need more young people. We're not gonna last forever. All right.
We do have two TARs in our family, so if anyone has any questions, give us a call, and it's a social, so it would be a fun time for someone new to join us, so let us know.
Right, and Ron Falcone had to run, but he's got a oath of office on December 27th. Anybody would like to participate in that? That's at 7 o'clock at Brunswick City Hall. And he's mayor of Brunswick, also the mayor of Medina, and finance director, I think it is. Dennis Hanwell and Keith Durham are having their oath of office at 6 p.m. on January 6th at Medina City Hall. Okay, hopefully everybody's had an opportunity to sign in on our guest list, especially new people. People that have been here before, help us cover the door charge. Those who are here for the first time, don't need to. Our good friend Scott Asher, who does the videography, is holding up the donation bucket. And that'll help us go to Staples and get a new rate of payment on Monday. Any other business before the group? Okay, thank you all for coming, and it is smelling now.
And everyone have a great Merry Christmas.
Oh, it's so good to see you. All right.